Afternoon and good evening, depending on whatever time you're watching us. Of course, in East Africa, in time, it's exactly 8:08 p.m. My name is Tamara Patience, and of course, I am joined by Emmanuel Bosire, and we're just going to be discussing one, two, three things that are happening in our country today. So, number one thing, the first thing that we are going to talk about is we have seen the former Kakamega governor, Wycliffe Oparanya, being arrested together with a wife in regards to alleged embezzlement of 1.3 billion Kenyan shillings that was purposed for Kakamega County. Now, we have also seen of late, that is yesterday, the sports CS, that is Ababu Namwamba, being grilled because of alleged mishandling or of athletes, and also probably not taking care of his ministry or doing whatever he's supposed to be doing with the ministry. So that is one. Number two, on this other side, we have seen the president of Kenya, that is William Ruto, is set to visit the Western region. And for the past 6 months, the president has actually visited the Western region quite a number of times. And how am I relating to this too? So there has been talks, there has been speculations that whatever is happening to Ababu Namambwa, number one, whatever is happening to Wycliffe Oparanya, number two, is not per se a fight against corruption, a fight against embezzlement of funds, rather a political thing. Why do I say this? Now, on Saturday, that is last Saturday, the president had a meeting with some of the representatives or some of the leaders from the Western region. And it has also caused a lot of concern and a lot of split between leaders because they stated that those who were actually called or the leaders that were present in the meeting did not quite fit who was supposed to be present at the meeting in regards to representing the Western region. And number one, of course, we know that the president is set to look into various projects that are happening in the Western region, including relaunching the Mumias Sugar Company, among other projects that are key in the Western region. Number two, we also see that the president is trying to enhance or trying to grow his following in the Western region because throughout history, we have seen that the Western region mostly is a stronghold of the Azimio la Umoja. So this raises a question. I've given you three different scenarios. Now, the question that even political analysts are putting out here, Emmanuel, is whatever is happening to these people, whatever is happening to the former Kakamega governor, is it really an accountability or is it really a quest to curb corruption or is it a political thing? That is a question that we're asking ourselves in regards to also the president visiting the Western region pretty soon and also the numerous times that he has visited the place.
Thank you for that good introduction to today's topic. I want to say that corruption is corruption.
Okay.
Whether you are a public servant, a citizen of any country, and even a leader in any leadership position, if you are found with any corruption case, the case is in court. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission are on with the investigation. With this case whereby between 2013 and today, 2023, you've been serving as a governor, you've been serving as a leader in this country, and then during your leadership time, up to date, now that you're out of office, you embezzled funds. Here is evidence. There's nothing else other than to go to court. You give your explanation, how the money got lost, how it was used, and then the court will decide on how to punish you. So this is not only political aspect, but it brings out to accountability. Public funds should be used well, as affirmed in the Kenyan Constitution of 2010. So it has got the requirements, how to source funds for the government, how to source funds as a county governor, how to use them, how to pay the pending bills, and everything that is required. But now our case has come here. That between this particular year that you are governor in Bungoma, you are leading this country for these 10 years. And this amount of 1.3 billion is not well accounted for. So that calls out to this big picture of Kenya that still corruption is high. We have high levels of corruption. So to Mheshimiwa Wycliffe Oparanya, I can state out that let him come out. Follow the rule of law. Cooperate with the ESCC. As they do more investigation, let's not bring the political aspects now. We're bound to bring everything into politics. But I'm going to explain again from the political aspect.
Okay.
One have said that Bwana Governor Oparanya amekuwa kiongozi wa taifa letu la Kenya, ametumia pesa za Wakenya vibaya, uchunguzi unaendelea, sasa asijifiche nyuma ya watu fulani kusema kwamba anamlikwa ni siasa. Na hii isiwe kwa Oparanya peke yake. Najua kwamba chama cha ESCC kinajituma sana kuhakikisha kwamba levels za corruption in our country zinazidi kupungua. We want to live in a country where you are proud to live as a Kenyan. Not that this country is owned by few people who are in leadership positions. Now, the crackdown should go to other leaders, whether you are in office, whether you are in office, whether you'll be in office in coming years. So we should bring this aspect of integrity to our Kenyan leadership, whereby a leader, you are able to come out and explain how you use these funds, in which way, through the public audit of the government. Again, it can be in a political term. We can ask, where has ESCC been to leave someone for this period of 10 years without questioning him, only to come 8 months after elections? Then a normal Kenyan will be asking himself or herself, where have you been this whole period? Could it be change in political leaders? Now that the other government, Oparanya, used to support the Azimio coalition, even up to this time, is in Azimio. Could it be now that he is not supporting the government, that's why the government, through ESCC, are following him? Many people will be asking themselves, and it could be that way. And now, bringing it up to the point where Azimio la Umoja Coalition and Kenya Kwanza are in bipartisan talks. And then someone could draw a conclusion if that it's through this bipartisan talks that these talks are bringing sacrifices to other people who have been supporting or going against the government.
The government, yes.
So this is what you've been seeing yesterday and the other day, those people from Azimio ganging up, trying to defend Oparanya, saying that these are political game. It could be true, it's a political game. Now that Kenya Kwanza government has started by looking into one of its own, Ababu Namwamba, then to bring this table to look as a balanced question, then they're bringing in Wycliffe Oparanya from the other side. So I don't want to bring it down to more of political aspect by saying that it's something that's not planned. To some degree, we can say that this thing is well planned out to work out. The President of the Republic of Kenya, we know that the western part of this country, where Oparanya and other leaders come from, for many years have been supporting Raila Amolo Odinga.
True.
And the 2022 elections, we saw Bwana William Ruto moving more to western regions. He brought in Musalia Mudavadi into a prime minister, something that's not in the constitution.
Sure.
But Musalia Mudavadi is serving that seat. We have the speaker of the country, Wetangula, coming from Western. We have the likes of Justin Turi and many others, Atuli. So we can analyze and say that it could be a game to the people of Western not to ask and demand the government of the day to provide for the people of Western Kenya. By bringing this picture of corruption onto Western leaders. You know, if a leader from Western could come and say, no, our own is very clean. Why have you left other people from other countries, other counties, other leaders' positions, only to narrow down to our own
region.
Oparanya? Oparanya is very, very, very close to Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga. It's very close. And then, in this case, this scandal is finding him. So it's only a big picture that is being brought out by partisan talks to see Salim Davadi, to see Oparanya being sacrificed out from the big picture of the talks between Raila Odinga and Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Now,
if I can take you back, when we're talking about political sacrifices, and yesterday we also mentioned that Ababu Namwamba could be a possible sacrifice.
Could be.
Yeah, could be a possible sacrifice. So what does that, now which raises the question of, once again, why are these specific people being the ones put in the limelight, and who might be next? You get? Because also, you can answer that question, who might be next, because it also raises that question, because a lot is happening in various ministries, a lot is happening in various counties, and various counties. And as you have seen, even with the agenda that the president has for visiting this Western region, is to try and install the projects that have stalled so far, you see. And as you've said, it's been 8 months, you know, and the governor has been has been serving Kakamega County, for example, for 2 terms, that is around 10 years. So it also raises the question of why now? Because people are asking, why now? Why is it that right now, this week, is when the governor is being put, the former governor is being put in the limelight, when the president is set to visit?
Yeah, very good. That's a very good question that every Kenyan is asking himself. Why now? Now, you've asked the question. I want to start by who is next. Who is next depends from the previous explanation. One, is it really that the government is fighting corruption? Or these are political games and sacrifices that have been brought by partisan talks? So to start by the government fighting corruption, who is next, we cannot tell. Because if now the government has decided to crack down the whip to all officers of the government who have been found or who will be found guilty with misuse of office, then they will be brought to the judiciary through different courts, and then they'll be punished and even explain to the public why they misused the public funds. And from the other aspect, if it's political sacrifices that have been brought by partisan talks, then we are yet to see many. We recall, we have been seeing the trends of the government and those in a government when they're going to those in opposition, even from their statements, what they're saying. They're telling them, come to the government. Come, let's work together as a team. And then for those who are insisting not to come to the government or tending to take more time to decide, those who will take long to decide, if they will come to the government, then they're going to face such challenges. Because the government will use the ESCC again to come and bring you to the point of submitting yourself to serve with the government. And these ones, we could see the likes of Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka. It could be a sacrifice. Because now that Raila Amolo Odinga and William Ruto are, from look of things, they're one thing as we speak, then going down, not everyone will be brought to this table. Mheshimiwa Washawa yesterday was talking about Kalonzo Musyoka taking too long to decide either to support the government or not to support the government. Then, the government is everything. If the government really wants you, it use every means to
get
bring
you.
you to government.
True.
So, to answer who is next
Mm-hmm.
from this aspect, then I'm pretty sure that many others, especially those in Azimio, who will take long to decide whether to support the government or not, will be next. Will you recall Atuoli Francis?
Yes.
Was all of us saying Ruto can never be a president?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, Ruto became the president. He has to change the tone.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard him anymore?
Less.
So that's what happens in our country,
Mm-hmm.
unless if we want to change how we do our politics.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, a country without opposition, then that's not our country. Because who will be telling the president what to do?
True.
Because those who are close to the president will not be confident enough
Mm-hmm.
to tell him this is wrong. Because they will be telling him we are on the right track.
True.
Let's go on, Bwana President.
Mm-hmm.
And that one will cost Kenyans
Mm-hmm.
with many development projects that will not be there. Again, to talk about the tour of the president to the Western region.
Mm-hmm.
The president is one unifying factor to our country.
True.
So a country that's going to develop is a country that's going to reduce much of tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the Western leaders are going to support the crackdown of the president and the EACC
Mm-hmm.
to look upon the corruption cases,
Mm-hmm.
this will bring this picture that anybody can be brought to court
Mm-hmm.
and give an explanation how you found your resources and how are you using the public office that Kenyans have entrusted you.
Mm-hmm. And just a follow-up question in regards to the leaders now who have been selected, the unifying factor. We know that when you mention the Western region, there are various names that are common or that is sort of like a unifying factor in the Western region.
Yeah.
A name like Moses Wetangula,
Yeah.
A name like...
The likes of Justin Muturi.
Exactly.
We have many Western leaders.
Exactly. Yeah. And that they're the ones who are mentioned and you feel like now Western region is represented. Yeah. Because another issue that was raised in regards to the president's visit was the former meeting where this particular group of people were not present.
Yeah.
And it raises the question of, is it a must for certain political leaders to be present in that particular meeting to make it now viable that the president has now spoken to leaders and understood the needs of the people in the Western region so that he can know what to implement or what to work on?
Yeah, it's a good question. Before a president or head of state comes to a region,
Mm-hmm.
you leaders from that region, you should organize for that visit to be a success.
Mm-hmm.
When a visitor comes to your house, you will tend to prepare.
True.
But when a visitor comes unaware,
Mm-hmm.
you know what will happen. But for a public leader as a president, does not come unaware to a region.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many protocols which are being observed before he comes to a region.
Mm-hmm.
And coming to a region, these are a region whereby it's almost 3/4 are supporting Azimio La Umoja,
Mm-hmm.
and then almost a quarter are supporting the Kenya Kwanza government.
Sure.
So for the president to come to this region, you must talk as of the same sound of voice for the president to know of what you need.
Mm-hmm.
What are your priorities as a region?
Mm-hmm.
Through public participation, you get to understand what people want from your region, and then you give them the priorities. Now, a president coming to a region,
Mm-hmm.
a Western region, we have kingpins, people who are claiming to be kingpins,
Mm-hmm.
or people who are kingpins from those regions. Like we have Nyanza, almost the whole of Nyanza, we have Raila Odinga being the kingpin. Mheshimiwa William Ruto is a kingpin in Rift Valley. Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua and others from Central are kingpins. Mm-hmm. So whom do we support supposed to be the kingpin from Western region? Mm-hmm. So they know themselves. Mm-hmm. And for a meeting to be successful in a region, we should have those instrumental leaders mm-hmm. attending that meeting. Mm-hmm. So if they don't attend that meeting, they are communicating something.
Mhm.
They are communicating that we are not ready for that talk, or we are not ready to take that route. Or if they attend that meeting, then they are again communicating something.
Mhm.
They are communicating that now we are ready
Mhm.
as a region to go in this direction.
Mhm.
We are ready to speak to the head of the president in this way. And at the end of the day, we want to speak as one voice from this region. So to answer that question, if key politicians from a region, especially Western region,
Mhm.
they don't come to that meeting,
Mhm.
then meaning there's a problem in that region. That's why at times you could find the planned visit to that region will be cancelled and then be planned sometime later. But again, if we don't come and people have seen that indeed you are claiming to be a kingpin, but an opportunity has been seen through another person, then we're going to use this one who is available and who is able to do what you can do, or he can do better than you. So if we're saying that Oparanya and other leaders like Moses Wetangula, you know what the government have done? It has took almost all the kingpins from Western and brought them to the government. So we have the speaker of the region, comes from Western. We have prime cabinet secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, coming from Western. And then, whom do you think the government will work with? Those in government.
True.
And try to bring those in Azimio close to them to work as a team. And those who are in Azimio and tend to say that the coming of a head of state to a region is not of benefit, then you'll be sidelined. Because at the end of the day, the president wants to make development in the whole country. But the more you insist, you know, those in Kenyan politics, if you stay long in opposition, you might not get development. Because development in Kenya, they go one in one with how you are close to the government. So this one will now answer the big question, why some key leaders, their presence in a meeting is so important, and at times it's not important, depending on the politics of the day.
And I'd like to pose a question to the viewers, because sometimes we have leaders who you choose or you have confidence in representing you in certain meetings. If that particular leader from your region is not present in that meeting, do you feel represented or do you feel misrepresented? Please tell us on the comment section below. And also, another question that just came up, because I was scrolling on, I think, Facebook, and I saw a comment somewhere in regards to Ababu Namwamba. And let's begin with that. And someone was saying that possibly Ababu is going to be the sacrifice, yes. He's going to be taken out and is going to be replaced by someone else. And there's something you've mentioned about what is happening with the bipartisan talks, that sometimes a sacrifice might be made. But it raises a question. So yes, the sacrifice has been made, but what is the outcome of this sacrifice? Are we sacrificing people who are there so that we can give, so that the government can give space to probably people or representatives from Azimio la Umoja, so that they can create probably unity or peace? Kwa sababu ilisemekana by September the 1st, Kenya is going to become one. What is the possible outcome of the sacrifice? Because I would really want to know what the possible outcome is.
Very good. You know, with any sacrifice, that means it's a loss.
True.
But with a loss, there's a replacement. So with a replacement, there's hope. And there's a reaction from the public or from the government itself. Suppose it's evident through the court and the parliament that CS Ababu Namwamba is sleeping in his job. So the immediate thing is that he will be removed. And the president will nominate other new names to parliament.
True.
Whereby they will be vetted, and at the end of the day, the majority will vote for someone whom they think is competent in that position. Now, let's imagine this scenario. It might happen or not happen. Depends with time. Suppose Ababu Namwamba has been sacrificed and moved from the seat. And then the president brings in a name from Azimio la Umoja coalition.
I can already see the fire in there.
And then their name is vetted in parliament and it's agreed. And that person replaces
Ababu Namwamba, yes.
What do you think would be the reaction of the country? What do you think will happen?
A lot of things, because I'm trying to think about all the possible reactions that would come from Kenyans, you know.
Yeah.
Because number one, it would be this whole thing was staged so that Ababu can be out and someone else in. Because so far, I can say no evidence has been presented against Ababu Namwamba.
So we're trying to see what might happen and what's going on. Now, what will happen is, where does Ababu Namwamba come from? That region that it comes from. You know, if Ababu Namwamba was coming from Central or Rift Valley, the reaction could be maybe different.
Oh, yes.
Because politics are about the region you're coming from. What's your role? Now, if Ababu could be coming from Central, some key politicians from Central could have even made him clean before this thing comes to the public. Maybe he's coming from a more small community. That thing will again not bring any big impact.
Reaction, yes.
So there are many things to be considered for them to be replaced. And then there, amidst the bipartisan talks, the Azimio la Umoja is bringing their grievances and demands. They could be telling the president, for us to work with you, in your cabinet secretaries, we could want our representation. It's a more tricky question in that table, but a way must be worked out. If they agree now that you want to, as Mila Moja, want to work together with Kenya Kwanza, and then we want a representation in your cabinet secretary. And then what will be done is, what's happening to Namwamba will go to many other people. It may not be immediate. Some will take time for them to be replaced. Now, this one, answering that question, is that this region that you're coming from is also influential in your state there. And then as time moves by, then we went to find Azimio la Umoja being represented in the government through their people whom they wanted. And then to make this thing again not to appear as bipartisan talks, we went to bring key of as Kenya Kwanza leaders to other roles, or to not to appear in public, but still for the public interest, bring this picture that there's no handshake or there's no big differences in leadership. Yeah.
Okay. Now, a lot of questions are running in my mind in regards to how Kenyans probably will react to, for example, like the scenario that you've built. But now I would really want your opinion on something. If indeed it's a sacrifice that is being made, let's say, for example, and if indeed through the bipartisan talks, the government decides we are going to get rid of certain people so that we can fix in certain people, so that we can have unity, or so that we can have peace, cohesion, and all that. In your opinion, is that a good strategy? Is that a viable strategy? Because yesterday, when you were talking about Ababu being grilled, you mentioned something about criteria of choosing, of nominating, or selecting possible candidates to represent various dockets in the government.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, putting that into consideration, do you feel like through the bipartisan talks, if they decide we are sacrificing A so that we can put B, so that Kenya can be one, and probably B might not be competent enough for that particular position, let's say, do you feel like it's a good strategy? Do you feel like it's viable? Will it work? Will it not work?
It could be helpful to the president, William Ruto.
How?
Because the person he's handling is not a baby in politics. The person that William Ruto is handling, 4 other presidents have handled him.
Oh, true.
So Raila Amolo Odinga is someone you handle with great care. Because today he might support you. Tomorrow he might bring you into fire. So Raila worked under Moi after disturbing him for long. Raila worked under the leadership of Emilio Moi Kibaki after he had disturbed him for great. Raila is worked under Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta through the handshake. So to leave Raila Amolo Odinga continue with demonstrations is bringing you into a great, great mess as a president of the day. So you must get a mechanism of how you handle Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. And the best way to handle Mheshimiwa Amolo Odinga is calling him your brother. To call him your brother is to bring him into government. So when you bring Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga into government, and then do what his demands are, you will change from becoming the president of the country and to be the elder brother to him. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this that there could be no problem in this big in our country if Raila Amolo Odinga and opposition are satisfied. The problem will be what is the result of this one leadership to local Mwananchi.
True.
If truly the union between Raila Amolo Odinga and the union together with Mheshimiwa William Ruto will bring more development, will increase the living standards for Kenyans, will improve the country to other levels, then it will be of great importance. But from more research and from the previous history, when the government of the day with opposition come together, the local Mwananchi and the country will tend to slow down. Because the government, together with the opposition, would be doing harm to local Mwananchi. Because who will be a representative to Mwananchi there? So the ills in government will not be brought out to the public. Because the person responsible for those to bring out those ills to the public is now pocketed. So this one will bring a big impact to Mwananchi and Kenyans at large. And then not only Kenyans, now this one will question the constitution of the day that we have as a country. Our constitution 2010 clearly states what's the role of opposition, what's the role of the sitting president, and what leadership criteria we have. So we have a criteria whereby we have a president, assisted by a deputy president, we have cabinet secretaries, and down to other public servants.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have a different view of this constitution, whereby we're having a president who is elected, whether he won or not, is our president. Is our president. And then we have the opposition coming into leadership positions who they never qualified for. And then we are going into a period of 4 years again before we come to another election. Now, what could be the role of that constitution? So meaning that constitution is not functioning in that country. From the other aspect that we are discussing about the union of the opposition and the government, brings this picture. Why then should we have elections? So that could be, it's now we are sitting, we're going to vie for a presidency. I want to be a president, you want to be a president. We go for election, I win, you lose. I bring you into the government. So that's a very, 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 very bad thing to a country which claims to be following the rule of law.
But now, yes, that could be a bad strategy, of course, because as you said, it puts the question, if that is the trend that is going to be happening, it begs the question, why, like, what's the need of having to queue after every 5 years, to go and vote for leaders when other leaders are going to just be incorporated in the system. Now, we have seen, we saw the era of the handshake, what happened and how the ruling was in Kenya, for example. Now, again, in your opinion, I'm taking too much of your opinion, but utaelewa, in your opinion, if, for example, we have the bipartisan talks go through, and we have an amicable argument between the Azimio la Umoja and also the Kenya Kwanza team, that this is how we are going to rule Kenya. Najua mheshimiwa mwenyewe ametuambia hakutakuwa na handshake na tusubiria handshake, but do you feel like if the opposition now is given a chance through the bipartisan talks, is it going to be different? Is the system going to be different from how it was in the previous handshake regime? Because we've seen the cost of living during even the handshake regime was still high. Now it's higher, and it's the same government, because it's the same government, it's the same opposition leaders who were in power, who had a say in what is happening in Kenya. They're now complaining that, this is not the way to go, this is the way to go. That is the first question. And the second question, if them having representatives now, for example, in the current government, does it guarantee a certain sense of like security that things are going to be different, that Kenyans are not going to the street to cry because of unemployment, they're not going to go to the street to cry because of the price of food, that you're not going to see the price of fuel like ikipanda every single time? Is it like a guarantee? Will there be like some level of guarantee that that is going to happen?
It's a good question again. Let's take this scenario. When you are a boy, when you are a child is either born a boy or girl. When you grow up, you become a youth. When you marry, you become a man. You become someday a grandfather, and someday you die.
Sure.
So the definition of working together with the government will change according to the term of that time. So the working together of Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, they termed it a handshake. The working together of Mheshimiwa Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga, how did they call that name? It was a Nusumkate government. So the working between Mheshimiwa William Ruto and Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, of course, will not be a handshake, will not be Nusumkate. It will be termed a different name. But at the end of the day, they are doing one thing. So when William Ruto, the president, is saying that there will be no handshake, it's true. He's saying the truth. There could be no handshake. What will be there is another name. What they will bring
nakupata.
So the name handshake, as Kenyans are taking it, it's a different thing. But what's happening behind the name is that the government and opposition are working together.
But is there like a possible outcome that we can see and say, now the government is working hand in hand with the opposition and we are seeing change different from whatever change was there during the Nusumkate era, whatever change was there during the handshake, and whatever change is going to be or is going to be there right now? We are still waiting for a name. Kwa sababu vile umesema, the opposition, according to even the constitution, has specific roles, and if you're not wrong, the opposition is there to make sure that the government is in check, But now they're coming together, working hand in hand. But what we are seeing from time to time is deterioration in whatever is happening in Kenya, in the progress of Kenya. Unaona, kama vile nimesema maandamano iko kwa the street, yes, but you ask yourself why are people going to andamana Why is the Azimio team, for example, leading the or propagating the maandamano thing, propagating people to go and fight for their rights, saying, "Oh, we are fighting for your rights. We are fighting for example, inclusion. We are fighting for you to be able to put bread on your table." Yet, these people have been in government, since since time immemorial. They have been in government. They have had a hand in saying, yes, this is the way, and this is not the way. Is it that mtu unataka kukuja kwenye serikali upate hiyo nusu mkate, ukule share yako ama hiyo nusu mkate, the whole essence is to make sure that kila mwananchi, ule mwenye alikupigia kura, ule hustler, ule mama mboga pia na yeye amepata a share in the bread. Like, what is different? That is what we are trying to understand.
Very good. Let me ask you a question. Before bipartisan talks, bei ya unga ilikuwa chini?
Kwangu ilikuwa juu.
Amidst the bipartisan talks, bei ya unga iko juu ama chini?
To me, it's still the same. I still buy the unga at the same price.
Now, the different thing here is there are no demonstrations. But things seem to be the same.
True.
Another question. Before demonstration, or let's talk about the period of handshake period. The price of unga. How was it? And what's the price of unga after elections?
After the current elections?
Yes.
Well, by far, because I remember by the time the handshake was happening, I personally was buying unga at 100 shillings. Right now I am buying unga at around 203 shillings. The same unga. Yeah.
It's true that during the handshake period, the living standards of Kenyans were high.
True.
Kenyans were buying unga at high price. Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga was in handshake. True. He did not come out to bring demonstrations to Kenyans. After elections, the government of the day is trying to bring down the prices of commodities. Is then the opposition are coming to the streets saying that living standards are very high to Kenyans. So the question here is, or the answer definitely is, when Raila Odinga is satisfied, what happens to Kenyans is none of his business. When his personal interests are being met by the government of the day, then nothing concerns him much. But when the interests of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga are not met, then you bring out stories and other things to look way to fight for his personal interests. So bringing this picture of demonstration, to some aspect, it could be true that the thing behind this drama is he wants his interests to be met. And once they are met, then the interest of the public, nobody will come and tell them. So if the price of the unga remains to be high, but Raila Odinga has been served his interest, there will be no demonstration. Or do you think there will be demonstration?
That is a question I leave for the people to tell us, for our viewers.
Tell us if it's truly the interest of Kenyans to be served again. Now, this one is bringing us to Kenyan politics. To politicians, they are more comfortable to come everywhere and say, sisi kama serikali. Sisi kama serikali tumefanya hiki. Sisi kama serikali tumeongea tutafanya kile. But when you are outside government, there could be baridi. Your interests are not being met. So there are those benefits that you could not be able to do. Because in Kenyan government, politicians are the same people who are businessmen.
True.
If you find a politician in Kenya, before becoming a politician, he's a businessman. I don't know what kind of business, but he's a businessman. He's making resources. And they understand well the African politics. You play it well when you have resources. And for you to be having these resources, and then you must have what? Leadership skills.
True.
So you must be in government. So this is a big drama that Kenyan cannot, and by the way, that's one of the reasons we cannot develop. Because in developing countries, the aspect of demonstrations are there. And even our Kenyan constitution clearly states that we have rights to demonstrate. Peaceful demonstrations are being accepted by the Kenyan constitution. But to me, I can say they are only accepted because they are accepted in writing. But when you come to the real scenario, when you go to demonstrate, you saw what happened recently in Mandaman. How many people lost innocent lives?
A lot of people.
What property was lost?
Plenty.
So when we say that in Kenya, and particular in our continent, is that we've not reached that level to accept that peaceful demonstration are part of expressing our disinterest to the government of the day. So this picture again will happen. What will happen if amidst the bipartisan talk, Raila Amolo Odinga's interests are not going to be met? What we're going to see is that Kenyans or Raila Odinga again is going to insist on demonstrations in Kenya, to Kenyan people. You've heard the president and his team, Kenya Kwanza, the deputy president, all of us saying that in that table in Bomas, they're only taking tea. They're wasting Kenyans' money. There's nothing serious being discussed there. Kimani Ichung'wah is saying that the issue of handshake is not being discussed there. The deputy president the other day was saying, when Raila Odinga came to that discussion, he did not talk anything about a Kenyan. I wish we could be playing that video so that our audience could be hearing this. That Mheshimiwa Gachagua was saying that in that bipartisan talk table, when Raila Odinga, his team is there, there's no indication bei ya unga haijatajwa, barabara hazijatajwa, maisha wa Kenya haijatajwa. Kile ambacho kimeweza kutajwa pale ni Raila Amolo Odinga. Kwa hivyo ni mbinu ya kutafuta njia ya kuleta Mheshimiwa kwa nasema eti the working away to bring in the seat of the prime cabinet secretary to the constitution and the official opposition leader seat to the constitution. And that now will take us back to what we had before election. We had BBI.
True.
Whereby Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga were the key people promoting it. Now at this point, when we went to see in these bipartisan talks, the interests of Kenya, One Kenya Alliance of Azimio being met, that will bring an end to demonstrations in Kenya for a while, unless something again happens in the future. But again, if they're not met, then we'll be having other series of demonstrations, if need be, by Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, if we not resort to other means.
Okay, so we have come to the end of today's session, but just because before you give us a parting shot, what we were talking about is what is happening in government currently with Wycliffe Oparanya being arrested with the alleged embezzlement of public funds, that is 1.3 billion shillings, and it being linked to, people ask the question, why is the current president, that is William Ruto, over visiting the Western region? And it was linked to Oparanya in regards to people saying that probably it's a political witch hunt. You know, they want to remove some people in power so that they can put some people in power. Do you think that is true? Please tell us on the comment section below. Do you think it's not true also? Please tell us in the comment section below. And what is your take on that? Number two, you can please feel free to tell us what is your take on the bipartisan talks. Do you feel like it's going to bring the outcome, that is, because it's almost coming to an end, right? Do you feel like the outcome of the bipartisan talks between the Azimio, La Umoja, and also the Kenya Kwanza team is going to be beneficial to you as Mwananchi, as the person who went and queued and actually voted, as the person who is being affected by the high cost of living, as the person who is being affected by probably bad roads in your area? Do you feel like you are represented, or is it a selfish kind of interest when it comes to the bipartisan talks? And also, waona kama kutakuwa na tofauti kati ya nusu mkate, kati ya handshake, na kati ya whatever talks are happening right now? Please feel free to tell us in the comment section below. But before we say adios, nataka Emmanuel atuambie parting shot yake.
And before we talk about that one, there's something I was forgetting about the president.
Okay.
Visiting different parts of the country. You know, Mheshimiwa William Samuel Ruto, our president, Akutamu, a professor in politics. He could be seeing 10 years coming from today. What could be the trends in politics? And what he has started is not someone who can stop tomorrow. So he have this consistency in nature in his leadership skills. So he could be campaigning for 2027.
Okay. Yeah, probably, because anakazana kukusanya,
wanting to know what are the problems of Kenyans from each region. And when you are acquainted with every region, it becomes easier for you to rule that region. So for President William Ruto going every part of the country, in as much to some extent, you know, they use a lot of resources. A president to go a region uses a lot of resources.
Yeah, true.
Government money is being spent for that particular event. But again, it brings this picture that the president is working. You know, if you be seated in office, you might not really understand what's happening on the ground.
Yeah, true.
So for him to be going to different regions, and especially those regions which did not vote for him much. One last thing I will talk about it is that he's a leader of a political party that started recently. UDA. ODM started in 2005, around there. So ODM has been the longest serving political party. And you're a president, and your party has only served for a few days, a few years, not even a year now. Now, it could be another way of bringing more members to his political party, UDA. So that, number one, a political party, for it to be functioning, must have many members subscribing to it. And again, it must have people who are able to trust in that political party. For now, we're saying that these things are bound to change. Our analysis will change depending on the politics of the day.
True.
I'll finish by that.
That was Emmanuel Bosire, and of course, we are going to be doing this every single day. Kwa hivyo, just make sure that you subscribe if you're a new subscriber and you have not subscribed to, or if you have not subscribed to our channel. Also, make sure that you share widely. This is Kenya News Alerts TV, and we are saying good night, or good morning, or good afternoon to you, wherever you are, and we'll see you tomorrow. Adios.